Well, hey, everybody. And in our series this week, one of the things we've been focusing in on is so you get your condition maybe identified, or maybe all you get is the general category of what's happening to you. And you're the person who's now going to be living within that framework, and for some people that may feel very different. And for some people, it's like, so what's changed from yesterday to today? And I really think we should really take that into account. So other than being labeled, what has actually changed for me from yesterday to the day? And it's like, well, nothing really. Other than now there's this thing that we've identified, or somebody thinks they've identified, about what's causing some of the things that people have been noticing, maybe I've been noticing, that have been interfering and making it hard for, because the definition, honestly, of dementia as it currently exists is that it is a condition that changes your ability to live your life the way you've lived it. It's going to make that not possible. It's going to take some of the abilities you have and make them inabilities or disabilities, so that you're not going to be able to do things the way you did things. And the tricky part of it is, so ultimately, it will make it impossible for you to be independent. Here's the tricky part, though. There's this period of time, like with any disability, where very possibly with some compensatory strategies in place, with some modifications that you may or may not even know about, you might be able to live your life the way you want to. Maybe not exactly the way you used to, but the way you want to. You'll be able to achieve the things you want to achieve with some modifications in how you go about it, or the supports that you get, or the demands that you put on yourself. Now, what does this mean? Well, to me, it means, okay, let's take stock of how you're doing right now. What's going well? What's a couple things that are going super well for you right now, or okay at least? And what's one thing that is not going the way you want it to? Okay, and we're going to sort of put them in categories of, okay, sleep and activity. So that's sleep and activity. How are you doing with sleep and activity? The second one would be something like purpose. How are you doing with filling what you feel is the work or the purpose that you have? The third would be, how are you doing at finding positive emotions and likes in what you do every day, whether it's people or activities or animals or places or plants or music or action, whatever it is. How are you finding places of pleasure and enjoyment every day? How's that going for you? And it's sort of like going through this. And then it's like taking in nourishment, hydration, chemicals, different, whatever else you put in there, and oxygen. How's that going for you? How do you feel like that's going? Is that are you in a good place with that? What are a couple of things that you feel like are going well with that? Okay. And then, we'd want to look at, gee, Matthew, what else can you think of?
Yeah. So I wonder too, Teepa, about how comfortable you are. Do you find yourself in a lot of positions where you just aren't comfortable? No matter what you do, you don't find comfort in your position? Or are there certain things that you do find a lot of comfort in, that those are doing good for you and those are worth noting? And then also that pain, and you kind of mentioned this before, but yeah, that pain piece is such a huge one, because that pain piece can create so many issues for you when you're already trying to figure this thing out after diagnosis.
How are you managing your pain? How bad is, what's going on with pain? Anything at all? And again, important to note, it's not just physical pain. It could be emotional pain. It could be social pain. It could be cognitive pain. It could be spiritual pain. Where are you with that? How are you doing with, the idea of managing pain, or, that idea of managing discomfort or feeling discomfort? Again, if you're in a good place with comfort, then classically less concern about the pain, because discomfort typically comes before pain. Although, if you have painful episodes and they quote unquote come out of nowhere, it's really important that we notice, wow, where did that come from? Wow, that interaction was just painful. It's like, ooh, well, let's pay attention to it. Let's see. Let's not avoid it, but let's not like poke at it, but let's look at it, because wow, has it always been painful? Or did it just used to be uncomfortable? And that could be the case with relationships already. Now, the last one that we haven't really put on the table yet is, how's your thinking going? Your cognitive health and well-being. How satisfied are you with your cognitive abilities? And by that, think of all the cognitive things, your ability to be logical and rational, your ability to control impulses, your ability to think things through and then initiate and sequence and finish something and then move on to something else and transition and do a day that way, do a week that way, do a month that, do a year that way. How about your ability to make choices and decisions and then to look at yourself and see where your strengths are and where you have challenges and what's changing? And how about your ability to be with others and see their perspective and recognize? So it's really taking inventory with somebody who's supportive. Now, you got to do this in the bite size that you can handle. And then this is my opinion, because I believe it's the health professional's job to then also take that data from, if there is a human being that feels like they're partnering with you, or you'd pre-selected to partner with you, and now they're saying it's time, and your brain may or may not be agreeing with that, it's time for that health professional to also do that inventory with them about themselves. And then about their relationship with you. Because the first thing to sort out is, could part of what you're experiencing be them and what they're feeling? They are in pain. In which case the healthcare provider is now recognizing, look, I have a partnership and I've got to help each person uniquely because they're unique people. And then that may help the partnership. Or maybe then we do, because there are, one of the recommendations might be for couples therapy. Now, the couples therapy has to be done by, what do you think, Matthew? If you're going to do couples therapy and one of the partners is living with some kind of dementia, what do you think is important that skilled person for couples also knows about?
Yeah, it would be great that they would have some experience working with somebody who is living with or potentially living with dementia.
How about several somebodies? How about they get skillful at working with people living with dementia, as well as working with couples? Yeah, and recognizing they have blind spots because of who they are. That I'm not a guy, I'm a girl. I don't have an experience of certain things. So I have a lifetime of, and I've certainly explored a lot of things, but there are a lot of things I don't know. So I've got to be a curious person and a supportive person and come up with that person with some ideas, with those people with some ideas. But taking sides, ooh, man. And being supportive may mean, you know what? I think before we try to do couples, I think we need to work individually for a bit. And yet other people, it's like working in couples. So like a support group is a great example. So we have Jerry Wiley, who runs a support group that combines partners and people living with dementia. And they go through information and content together to learn together. But you got to be in a certain place for that. And if you're an angry, frustrated person, regardless of whether you're a care partner, and that was already in the mix, boy, I'm not sure we want to, I don't know, just a thought. So Matthew, let's go back. Or what did you pick up on today that I'm talking about after the diagnosis or after the condition is noted? What am I proposing here?
Yeah. So this idea, Teepa, of that taking stock of where you're at in a lot of these different categories that we mentioned, because it can be easy to start forgetting about a lot of these things because we'll get just that tunnel vision on what's going on. We just got this diagnosis or this potential, and getting some kind of baseline, getting some kind of idea of where we're at now with a lot of these different categories can really help us when we're moving forward. And then also this idea of when there's another person involved, getting that support from somebody with experience, who's had experience with many different types of dementia, many different people out there, especially couples, so that they can start to help us in this process. And it may mean that we have to do it separately at first before we can come together and do that, but still that idea of bringing in support to help us.
Yeah. So I think after the condition has been labeled as a dementia, there's more to be done. And one of the reasons this is my next step is this actually helps people figure out what form of dementia or dementias might we be coping with here. Because honestly, in most situations, it's what I'm having trouble with early on, what I'm doing well with early on, where there might be challenges early on and where there are not challenges early on that can help really get clearer about what's working and what's not. So therefore, what kinds of support might be more effective and what kind of pitfalls are out there for certain types of dementia. But also just given who I am and given my relationships and my resources. So it's sort of like taking stock of where we are, because we said before, out of 10 people, 7 won't get in to get something looked at until we're in the middle of the condition. And it's been going on for 5 to 8 years. And we've already got some, I'm going to call them bad habits. We've got some patterns or routines established that may be uncomfortable for at least one or both. And it might actually have escalated to painful, which is why we came in. So there's a negative taste in people's mouths just coming in. And we got to recover from that before we can move forward. And it means taking stock. So I'm going to pause there. We also have a second sort of way that some people, one of our really good mentors out there in the world has been doing some things, which is Curry's group, Curry and Linda with the Lewy body roller coaster. That's another example of, seeking that. But in many cases, that's the next step after the very first figuring out what the heck is going on. And people going, well, you got dementia. It doesn't really matter what kind. And it's like, I don't know. For people living with Lewy body, my experience is it really does matter. And for people who are living with Alzheimer's and Lewy body, it really does matter. And for people who have vascular, you know what? Really does matter. Oh, speaking of which, Thursday, we are going to do, Rachel and I did a little piece on vascular dementia, and we're going to play that on Thursday for you guys because we had done it and we want to get it out there because people are asking some questions about vascular dementia. Then when we do our live on Friday, it won't surprise me if you guys have some more questions that we put into the mix when we're talking about the final piece, because this will be our final piece then, because we'll do Wednesday and then we'll do Friday. Those will be our final pieces of this series, looking at it from all sides of the equation when you get the condition identified, or the phrase is after the diagnosis. And we're going to be talking about on Wednesday, what's the new normal? What's my new normal going to look like? And what do I want it to look like? And what am I willing to do to help it look like that? And who do I need and what do I need to do that? So we'll be back. But till then, take care with care. Bye all.